Today we're exploring Angrath, Captain of Chaos in Oathbreaker and seeing what kind of signature spells might be best with him. For 4 mana, he starts at 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have Menace, -2, amass 2, and that is it. He does not have a plus. We're going to address that little problem later on in the video, but first let's go over some synergy picks for signature spells. Tentative Connection costs 4 mana, but this spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with Menace. Gain control of target creature till end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. I did not expect to find any cards that synergized with that static ability, but there you go. 1 mana is a really good rate for this, and the second time you cast it with the commander tax, it's still acceptable at 3, it's usable. If I was using this as signature spell, I'd make sure I'd have a couple sacrifice outlets in the deck, because then it gets real good. Or we could synergize with Amass. Widespread Brutality is the most commonly used signature spell with this planeswalker. For 4 mana, amass 2. Then the army you amassed deals damage equal to its power to each non-army creature. So it can be a one-sided board wipe if you're really focusing on that army thing. Some other removal cards that are worth a mention: Bleeding Edge for 3, up to 1 target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, amass 2. And Foray of Orcs. For 4 mana, amass Orcs 2. When you do, Foray of Orcs deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the amassed army's power. And yes, amass and amass Orcs works just fine together, so don't worry about that. The last one that I think is worth talking about is Assault on Asgalath. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. For X red, amass Orcs X. Then goblins and orcs you control gain double strike and haste until end of turn. There's a handful of other amass and amass orcs cards too that I'm not going to list by name or talk about. They're not really that great as signature spells, but at least some of them should make the cut for the deck, I would think. Now let's talk about his big weakness, the fact that he can't plus himself like most planeswalkers can. The Elder spell is far and away the best card to deal with that. For 2 mana, destroy any number of target planeswalkers. Choose a planeswalker you control. Put 2 loyalty counters on it for each planeswalker destroyed this way. In a format where everybody's got a planeswalker and their deck revolves around their planeswalker, this card is insane. Frankly, I rarely recommend this as signature spell because the card is just too good. It's also too not fun, and it doesn't really synergize with stuff. It's just not the way I would play Oathbreaker or recommend you to. However, in this case, I'm pretty sure that Angrath's Amass is not going to be the top deck in the format. This is probably not going to be a very good deck, to be frank with you. And I wouldn't feel too bad about playing a really good card in a kind of bad deck. Hopefully you don't take that the wrong way. Most of my decks are on this level, niche, weird ideas that just sound fun. If you're building Angrath, you are my people. Considerably worse, but still alright, is Settle the Score. For 4 mana, exile target creature. Put 2 loyalty counters on a planeswalker you control. But what I would pick is a signature spell with Proliferate. This way we can proliferate up Angrath's counters, but also the counters on the army. These are my picks for the best ones because they're low mana and they're also kill spells. Then we've got a couple flavor picks. Angrath's Rampage for 2 mana, choose 1. Target player sacrifices an artifact, target player sacrifices a creature, target player sacrifices a planeswalker. And a pretty questionable one, Deathbellow Warcry for 8 mana. Search your library for up to 4 Minotaur creature cards with different names and put them onto the battlefield. Angrath is a Minotaur, so if you wanted to do some Minotaur tribal, I guess there you go. I would not have mentioned it, but a surprising number of decks were using this as signature spell when I was researching for the video. If you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing for weekly Oathbreaker videos. Honestly, these videos don't do great compared to EDH stuff, but I just love the format, and I want to do my tiny little part in making this format just a little bit more popular. Please hit the like button on your way out, and I'll see you next time.